It's another Jen presentation. Again, 2 in a row. Can you imagine that? Amazing.
Are we lucky?
Aren't you lucky? Yeah, really lucky. Really, really lucky. How privileged are you lot to be having a Jen presentation?
I feel extremely fortunate to be having another Jen presentation.
Well, today, what we're going to be learning about today, really professional there. Today, what we're going to be learning about today is Pat Sharp today.
Today?
When I was talking to a friend of mine about the presentation I was writing, I was like, I'm doing it on Pat Sharp, and she goes, I used to love Pat Sharp. It's a shame he's a boomer. So I'm really glad she told me that 3 hours into all of my research. We're going to be skipping over some of the things because I couldn't really find much, and I'm sure it was just a bit like, he said something stupid on Twitter or something, but I couldn't really find much.
Isn't it?
Do you know who Pat Sharp is?
I am not aware of Pat Sharp.
Absolutely not,
I'm loving this charming face. I'm loving this exciting slide.
So all of the backgrounds that you see, I got off of a free website called FreePick, which now that I've said that, I don't have to put it in the description. Hey! Pat Sharp, at a glance, a DJ and TV presenter, 80s and 90s icon, and a little-known hit music maker. He was an 80s and 90s DJ, so he had a couple of charity singles, but he does very proudly present his hit music making on his website, so I figured it was appropriate for us to just highlight it a little bit. So neither of you know who Pat Sharp is. That's really fantastic because we get a lot to learn today, and he was incredibly prominent in my childhood.
Okay.
So I'm excited to let you know all about him.
Getting an insight into Jen's childhood.
Here is a quote from Pat Sharp's website. Pat is the most positive and laid-back celebrity I think you'll ever meet. He's happy to do anything. He'll be in the middle of a crowd and it will be swamped with people, yet he will always have a smile on his face. Happy to talk to everyone and give everybody time. I love him for that. He's just a lovely man.
That's sweet.
Who's
Do you want to take a guess? Take a guess at who that's a quote
Chris
from?
Moyles.
And this, by the way, this is how it's written. This is how it is written on his website.
Oh, it's not
as
from
well.
him, is it?
The one and only. ... Chesney Hawkes. Do either of you know who Chesney Hawkes is?
I know the name, but I could be thinking of a different Chesney.
No, so Chesney Hawkes sung a song called I Am the One and Only, which you probably know the song of.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes.
There's so many die-hard Chesney Hawkes fans in the comments right now getting really
Yeah,
mad.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, there's going to be like
wherever
those...
you are.
Because he was very popular for like 2 singles and then became one of those D-list celebrities, much like Pat Sharp.
That's a banging song though.
It is a really good song. I fucking love Chesney Hawkes. Mostly because he's a little bit rubbish, but there's sometimes you need a little bit of rubbish.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
tasty, a little bit tasty.
Bit of a Michael Bolton fan over here.
Oh my god,
despite
Michael
his lyrics.
Bolton. You can't take Michael Bolton away from me.
Well, now we have a bit of a background generally about who Pat Sharp is. Let's go in depth. Let's delve deep into Pat Sharp. Pat Sharp was born Patrick Sharpin, not to dead name the man.
Sharpin.
In 1961. Sharpin. He shortened it to Sharp because that's a bit more hip, a bit more DJ.
Bit sharper.
Pat
more
Sharp
edgy.
instead of Patrick Sharpin.
Dangerous.
Yeah. It's to the point. It's to the point, eh? He was one of those weirdos as a kid who was really into radio. You find this sometimes, like particularly like the big radio DJ people. They're like weirdly obsessed with radio when they're a kid, and they're like they spend all of their time listening to all of the radio DJs and like recording things and getting a bit
massive radio nerds.
Yeah, exactly, massive radio nerds. By 14 or 15, all he ever wanted to do was be a DJ. Do you want to know what kind of school he went to at 14 or 15?
Was it a private school?
Eton.
Of course, it was a private school. It was a private school, also the same private school as Riz Ahmed and Michael McIntyre.
Okay.
Not at the same time. I think they're both a little bit younger than Pat Sharp, but it gives you an idea. Like nobody in the media in the UK didn't go
Yeah,
to...
building up a picture of Great Britain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really wild. So he went to a private school. Do you want to have a guess about what his dad's career was?
Industrialist.
No, his dad was a PR executive.
Oh, yeah, of
Oh.
course. Okay. Okay.
So you have an idea of how he grew up. This will give you a bit of an idea of how he got to where he was as
Yep.
well. Because at 18, he was a dispatch rider for minicabs and a mobile disco person. But he had an agent.
Had an agent
Because
at
every
18.
18-year-old wannabe DJ has an agent. Yeah. And when he was 20, his agent sent a mixtape to Radio 1. How would you describe that? Like 70% of the people that watch this show on in the UK, how would you describe BBC Radio 1?
Dull?
Top 40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool for the
it's
kids.
the premiere, the big youth radio station, all of the pop hits, all of the enormous hit singles, and
Yeah, it's going to be like the biggest radio station, right?
like millions and millions of people still listen to it now. But obviously in the 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
You kind
really,
of-
really big.
It's a thing to stereotype people by which radio station they listen to. Radio 4,
Yeah.
you've
Right.
got your quite posh
Nerds.
old fogies. Radio 1, you've got your cool kids.
Radio 2 is middle-aged people.
Yeah.
Right.
So despite having zero experience, he was hired off the back of this mixtape to cover for Steve Wright in the afternoon for
wow.
an entire week whilst he was on holiday. So this, no experience, complete nobody, just happened to be given, like, hired for an entire week to cover for one of the biggest shows on one of the biggest radio stations.
Because his dad
That's
is
actually
a PR
A good agent.
guy.
And despite being a bit crap, he was hired to do the early morning breakfast show for the next couple of years.
Early morning breakfast show, would that have been pre-Chris Moyles, like the show on before
Yes,
Chris,
so early morning is like-
before 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's like 4 to 6 p.m. or something. It's AM rather, not PM. That's the early morning stuff. Still incredibly popular. They still get millions and millions of viewers because it's one of the only things on. So he also got hired to do Top of the Pops. This is a screenshot from one of his episodes of Top of the Pops that he did. Incredibly horrific trying to capture this screenshot because when you think Top of the Pops and you think 1980s, there is only one person that comes to mind. And I had to watch him present some things next to Pat Sharp, and it was so uncomfortable. Really, really uncomfortable. So Pat Sharp, he bounced around from Radio 1, Top of the Pops, lots of commercial radio stations as well, before settling Capital FM, which he described as his dream job, and he stayed there for basically a decade. After half a decade or so, doing random TV shows, bits of commercial radio, sitting on Capital FM, Pat Sharp started what I would consider his most famous role, which is hosting the kids' game show Funhouse. Which, to me, Funhouse was one of the premiere kids' TV shows. It was the one that I loved the most. It was like wacky, it was noisy, it was the thing that I wanted to see. Every single Friday afternoon after school, I would desperately make sure I could catch Funhouse.
Is this one of those like game shows where they have to reach the end of a course getting battered by like big cushiony things along the way and like...
Yeah, a little bit of that. It ran for 10 years from 1989 to 1999. And that's basically the first 7 years of my life there. And the premise of the game was you had two teams of two. They'd go head to head. They were often like brother and sister. And it was always a boy and a girl because they always pit the boys against each other and the girls against each other. Which is like, when I watched it, I watched loads and loads of episodes and it was like, oh, I don't like this. It's really like, I just didn't like it. Basically, they go through 3 games where they dress up silly. They get covered in the 90s kids TV staple of gunge.
I knew it. I knew there would be
Yeah.
The slime.
Yeah, you watch it and it's a bit like, oh, this is intense. This is very intense, is how I would describe it if you want to watch it. Because I watched like 3 or 4 episodes in prep for this.
Just like ritual humiliation on TV. Get down.
Yeah,
to
like
the
they dress them
slime.
up as like washerwomen, and they have to like squeeze gunge out of things and stuff. It's like, it's bizarre. It's simultaneously one of the highest budget and lowest budget shows I've ever seen.
That
'Cause-
makes sense.
It's like they have weirdly low budget things and they just do weirdly high budget things as well. Like the funhouse behind them is really, really high budget. They do free games and then they do a go-kart round where they have a race. Both teams have a go-kart and they race around the studio picking up like tokens, and they get the tokens have
That's
points on
so
them.
fun.
Which is that's
Yeah.
really fun. It looks really unsafe, but it was really fun nonetheless. And the team with the most points at the end of Funhouse get the opportunity to go around the eponymous Funhouse and pick up loads of prizes. You can see in his hand he's got like a little name tag, which is one of the prizes, and so they'd be hanging out in like this Funhouse, which was like those adventure play parks that you could go to when you were a kid. So you'd like go through like a ball pit and you go down a slide and those sorts of things.
Love that shit.
And it was actually the prizes that you got were actually quite good.
What?
Like you get like a hi-fi set and a TV and a annual subscription to a fan club membership, and like you get like 15 prizes for going through the Funhouse. It was quite a good one. You can see in Pat Sharp's hand here. You might not be able to see it on the screen share, but you'll definitely be able to see it on the video. It says finger licking party. Although it doesn't quite look like finger licking party there.
It doesn't.
And that was basically a trip to KFC.
Oh. I see.
Helping Pat Sharp was his lovely assistants, Melanie and Martina, who were twins. Very, very Kent. They sound very Kent. If you've ever heard like that sort of Chatham era of Kent, like almost Essexy, Chatham, Dartford, that kind of Kent area. And it's like, oh, shut up, I gotta go now. That kind of Kent. And it was very funny. They were cheerleaders, so they were dressed in cheerleader outfits, obviously like dad fuel.
Dad fuel.
And they were like 20 years old, and they were with them for every single show.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate
it's
that.
horrible. It's horrible. It's really, really horrible. But they looked like they were having fun. You can see that in this picture here, she's got braids.
Yeah.
Which is very 90s as well.
90s.
I was watching a like a little documentary about this show, and apparently they eventually had to put security guards on the studio because at the weekends when they weren't filming, they like the people who worked at the studios would bring their kids
Oh my god, that's
to
so
the studio
cute.
and they'd send them round the
Of course
funhouse
you
for like
would,
an afternoon.
right? Like, of course you would.
It's so fun, isn't it? Yeah, you would. But like they had to like lock
Why
up
they
the studio and put
spoil our
security
fun?
guards
That
because people
sucks.
kept going there. I imagine probably for health and safety
Yeah.
reasons.
Don't want to get sued.
Don't want too many hospital trips.
Anyway, it's worth a watch if you want all of your senses destroyed.
Gunge.
Yes.
Bring on the slime.
Maybe that's why they had to
Let-
ban the kids from coming. They spin slime everywhere.
Oh, that looks like a lot of cleanup. Let's talk his hair.
I mean, it can't be ignored, can it?
These are some lovely photos of his
These
hair.
are like,
This is part of
It's
why I thought of
incredible.
Michael Bolton earlier.
but it's just like the longest, most incredible mullet that I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good. It's so beautiful, his hair. Especially this like bottom
Yeah.
middle one where his hair is just like
Showing it
luscious
off,
and beautiful.
Like a lion's mane.
He has the quintessential 90s and 80s mullet. Incredibly what he's known for. He only had it from about the early 80s to 1992. So what that means is he has never had a mullet in the entire time I've been alive. But I associate Pat Sharp with having a mullet.
I mean, this is
That's weird,
Yeah.
right? Like, I associate someone with
But
having
this
a
is-
hair that I've never lived
this is
with.
such an incredible mullet. Like, I don't know, like, I didn't know or remember who Pat Sharp was, although the name sounded kind of familiar. I'm sure there's going to be so many people who think Pat Sharp as the name and they just think of the mullet. That's the Pat Sharp characteristic that they remember.
Yeah. It is what people think of when they think of Pat Sharp. Pat Sharp has opinions about his mullet. Would you like to hear his opinions?
Yes,
about his
please.
Like retrospective opinions.
My mullet was cool, but I couldn't have it now. I'd look like Joe Exotic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That is what he would look like.
Yeah.
Tiger keeper,
Incredible.
Joe Exotic.
The Tiger King.
Yeah,
the Tiger
yeah.
King.
Tiger King and
Oof.
horrendous misogynist, Joe Exotic.
But yeah, that's his mullet. That's his mullet. Would either of you ever get a mullet?
Should I?
I reckon you could, Rach. I reckon you can pull off, like, sometimes you pull off quite a mullety look, just because of the way that your curls form. I think...
Don't say that. That's the opposite of what I want for my hair. I know it's true. I don't want it to be true. Don't
Sorry, Rach.
shame me.
You
on
look
the
like
internet.
you look like you got a mullet.
I used to be horrified by mullets, but I've definitely come round on them, especially seeing just loads of cool queers with rocking the mullets again. I'm like, oh, I actually like this one. This one actually looks cool.
It's become a bit of a trend recently, hasn't it, to have a mullet?
Good ones exist, but you've got to be brave.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if I'm brave.
I think as well, people don't do the whole like blown out big hair thing as much like this, so it's still a very different kind of mullet to this kind, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, being a D-list celebrity, Pat Sharp has been on many a reality TV
he
show.
looks so different.
Or at least that's what I would think.
I wouldn't have said it was the same person.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, he hasn't actually done an awful lot of reality TV. I was expecting what my plan for this slide was I was gonna say, oh, Pat Sharp's done a load of reality TV shows, and then list off like 200 reality TV shows, and it would have been very funny and it would have been a great skit. But unfortunately, he hasn't done that many. He did I'm a Celebrity, which is pictured here, where he came 10th, and this was in 2011. When you Google Pat Sharp's I'm a Celebrity, you actually get some stories about people accusing him of being a bit of a bully. I think he was a little bit stressed, under pressure, as they say.
I mean, they have to make a character out of people, don't they?
Which is understandable on a show like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also that. They edit people into various different guises. So it's these things are not representative of who they are. But that's what you get if you search for Pat Sharp I'm a Celebrity, which is a bit of a shame for some people, I guess. He also did an Olympic-themed show called The Games.
Fun.
Which was like celebrities do Olympic sports.
Oh, you think
he came last
I
in
think
that
I
one.
remember that show.
So that's a... Yeah, there was a couple of series of it. I think he was in a second series. And he came last in it. My main recollections of that show was it was a bit crap.
Just imagining like it's so horrible
that's
at
what I
sports at
remember from
school.
it.
Just imagining being like, you get to be a celebrity, right? You get to escape the nightmare of like being a teenager, and then you just go straight back into like some horrible reality TV show where you're made to perform sports for other people's entertainment, and then you still just come last again. Like, isn't that a nightmare?
But to be fair, he had his own television show for a long time.
Yeah, I don't
where
really-
he made kids
I don't feel sorry
battle
for him.
against each other, so you know.
Yeah.
Guess what he deserves.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's fair.
Yeah. So as part of this plan to make a funny list of all of these reality TV shows that he's been on, I went onto IMDb, and the list was not very high. It was like 2 or 3 reality TV shows. I think he's done Come Dine With Me as well or something. However, there was one thing on his IMDb page which was like, what? That can't be right. That must be IMDb must be wrong. And it was a film called Superman Requiem.
Huh.
And I was like, Superman Requiem? What's Superman Requiem? And it turns out it's an 1.5 hour long Superman fan film.
No way.
Where he plays a doctor in a cameo. And it's a really, like, I watched all 90 minutes of this film because I was like, IMDb must be lying. IMDb must be lying because Pat Sharp could not be in this film. Well, guess what, listeners? Pat Sharp is in this film.
Is that
talking to Clark Kent here?
A Superman fan film. That's so funny.
For a fan film, it's quite high budget, but it's still really bad. It just, I was like, IMDb, it's got to be wrong. It's got to be wrong. It must be another Pat Sharp. It must be some other actor because all of the actors in it are American.
Right.
It's clearly filmed in LA.
I thought you were going to say like Game of Thrones or something.
There's just this scene. No, he's just a random doctor in a Superman fan film where he's on for like 30 seconds. It was the most obscure thing I've ever seen.
Was it worth the 1.5 hour watch?
No, it's over an hour in, so just skip to an hour and watch from then. It's not worth watching the entire film because it's not good. It's not good. Watch on 10 times speed and wait until you see Pat Sharp. Oh. That's the worst oof we've ever had on this show, is Pat Sharp in the Superman Requiem fan film. Oof. So, where is he now? We've gone through the life and times of Pat Sharp. Well, he's currently 59 years old, and as I said earlier, he is a bit of a boomer. But I think probably more like how your dad is a bit of a boomer, rather than like he's a horrible person who you should hate and you should definitely not like or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a 59-year-old man.
That's what the word boomer is for, really, isn't it? Not.
Yeah. You can buy a cameo of him. And I've done that. No, I've not.
Oh my god, that would have been so good.
You were really expecting that for a second.
That would have been so good. It would have been so exciting.
It would have been so good, but I don't. It's not even a cameo. It's like it's some knockoff cameo. And I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to spend 60 quid, and also you have to get a license if you want to do it in some, like if you want to have it in something like this, and I'm like, so it'd be more than 60 quid.
Fair.
So I didn't get a fake cameo
That's
from Pat Sharp.
I'm disappointed. I don't think you put enough effort into this. Only 2 episodes in a row and no cameo.
Rach, are you seeing these slides?
I was this close to buying a mullet wig.
Oh my god.
I was this close to buying a mullet wig. Literally last night I was like, I should have. If I buy a mullet wig, will it arrive? Can I get next day delivery at 8 o'clock in the evening? I don't think I can.
Desperately want to see you in a mullet now.
It would have been fun. Anyway, that's Pat Sharp. Hope you learned a bit about Pat Sharp.
Beautiful. That was a joy. I loved learning about this beautiful man with his golden mane. I also appreciated all of these jazzy slides. Incredibly beautiful slides. Oh, also, another one, Jungle Run.
So,
I would have loved to be on Jungle Run.
Jungle Run.
It's cool.
Did you know they filmed a adult nudist version of Jungle Run?
I didn't know that a nudist... Why was it nudist? No, that's pretty good, actually. That is pretty
or
fun.
Unofficial? I'm really hoping
completely
that's
official.
Unofficial.
It was hosted by Keith Chegwin. Cheggers. And it obviously was adults. Let me see if I can find...
That is so funny. Speaking of BBC Radio 1, for everyone, Cheggers was another radio DJ. Keith Chegwin. Oh my god. What the fuck?